So today in my video lecture series, today we will discuss about a very important power plant from the subject GTD, that is generation, transmission and distribution. The power plant. So let us start. So in my course outline, these are the points. First we will discuss about what is thermal power plant, then the schematic diagram of the power plant, then third the different parts of the power plant, and in the last we will discuss about advantages and disadvantages of the thermal power plant. Then coming to the next slide. So first, what is thermal power plant? So before starting this thermal power plant, as we know, in power system we have three operation, that is generation, transmission and distribution. So we all know that generation means the where the power is generated, that is in the power plant. Then the next operation is transmission. The power will transmit from generation to different places, that is the transmission, and finally that is distributed to the consumer, that is the distribution. Our part is to discuss about generation. So the generation of power, that is done by two sources. Two sources means, that is, one is conventional source, second is non-conventional source. So we know a conventional source of power is hydro power plant, thermal power plant, nuclear power plant, gas power plant, diesel power plant. So these are the power plant that is based upon the conventional source. Non-conventional source means solar, wind, biomass, tidal. These are your non-conventional source. So from the non-conventional source we are also generating power. So that is known as non-conventional power plant. So our power plant, the thermal power plant which we are going to discuss today, that is a conventional power plant. So what is thermal power plant? A generating station which converts heat energy of coal combustion into electrical energy, that is called thermal power plant. A power plant which converts heat energy of coal combustion. So by burning of coal we are producing heat, and by utilizing that heat we are getting electrical energy. That means heat energy is converted to electrical energy, that is known as thermal power plant. So basically in the thermal power plant coal combustion will be happened, and from the coal combustion heat will get, and from the heat that is converted to heat energy is converted to electrical energy. So that is called thermal power plant. So this thermal power plant, that is basically based on the Rankine cycle, and in thermal power plant just I told you that when heat released by the coal combustion, that heat is utilized to produce steam, then steam is applied to steam turbine, and turbine and generator or the alternator, that is coupled. So when the turbine rotates, it rotates the generator, and generator produces electricity. So this is the principle how this thermal power plant is operating. Coming to the next slide. So thermal power plant uses coal to generate heat. Thermal power plant is a conventional power plant. And last point, the thermal power plant is also known as steam turbine power plant or coal power plant. So steam turbine, as we are producing steam, so that's why it is also known as steam turbine power plant, and other name is also coal power plant, because we are the primary fuel for the thermal power plant is coal. So by burning the coal we are getting heat, so that's why it is also known as coal power plant. Coming to next slide. So this is the schematic diagram of the thermal power plant. So this is a very important diagram, and here the different parts that is shown in the diagram, and by this different part the thermal power plant is operating. So very main important the parts, that is that you can see the coal storage, then coal handling, then ash storage, ash handling. The important part is here boiler. Boiler is in the center, you can see in the diagram. We will discuss about each part. You just see the diagram first, then air preheater, economizer, superheater, then turbine, and you can see the turbine and generator that is coupled to each other. So turbine rotates the generator, turbine gives mechanical energy, and generator converts this mechanical energy into electrical energy. So that is the alternator or the generator, that is AC generator we are using in the thermal power plant. So coming to the first part, so here the different parts that is written here, you can see very important parts, that is the first coal handling plant, ash handling plant, boiler, turbine, condenser, cooling tower, feed water heater, economizer, superheater, air preheater and alternator, that is with the exciter. So these are the different main important parts that we are going to discuss also. So coming to the next slide, here first is the coal handling plant. So you can see, again you see the diagram here, in the diagram where the coal plant is there, so you can see the coal handling plant that is in this position. So you can see, so this is the coal handling position. This is the coal handling plant here. So in the coal handling plant, actually in thermal power plant, as I said, in thermal power plant we need the primary fuel, that is the coal. So the coal that will come from the coal mine area, so from the coal mines the coal will come to the thermal power plant by rail or truck, and again, so after coming to the power plant, that coal that will store in the coal handling plant, coal storage there. And in the coal handling plant, the coal that is pulverized into small pieces. So the coal, the size of the coal may be larger, so that's why the coal is pulverized. Pulverized means that is crushed into small pieces, so that properly the coal can be utilized, proper combustion can be done, so and the efficiency can also be improved. So that is the reason the coal is pulverized into small pieces. So that is the this operation that is done by the coal handling plant. So here again in the next slide you see, so this is the coal handling plant. So in order to increase the surface exposure, rapid combustion, so the coal is pulverized into small pieces, and after the small pieces that is gone to the boiler by the belt conveyor. So coming to the next part, that is steam generating unit. So in steam generating unit there are different parts are there. The first part, that is boiler, air preheater, economizer, okay, superheater. So these are the parts of the steam generating unit. So first part, that is the boiler. So what is boiler? The steam boiler or steam generator, that is a closed vessel in which water under pressure is converted into steam. So the basically the steam which we require, the steam that is produced in the boiler. So in the boiler, the steam that is produced. How this steam is produced in the boiler? The mixture of pulverized coal and air is taken in the boiler, and then they burnt in the combustion zone. The heat energy is utilized to convert the water into steam. So definitely for the production of steam we need two things, one is your water, another is heat. So the heat that will come from the coal, and the coal combustion that will also, the coal that is burnt in the boiler also, and in the water tubes will be there, and the water that is converted to the steam by the help of heat. The heat is coming from the coal combustion. So these are the things that is happening in the boiler. So boiler is a very important part of the thermal power plant. It is a closed vessel where the water under pressure is converted into steam. Then coming to the next part of the steam generating unit, the next part, that is superheater. So very important part, superheater. So what does it mean, superheater? What is the function? So in superheater you can see the steam which is produced in the boiler, that contains wet particles, or basically that is a wet steam. So that wet steam that is converted into dry steam by the help of this superheater. So that is the function of superheater. The superheater that is converted, it is a device that converts wet steam into dry steam. Okay, and in this way the overall efficiency that is also increased by the help of superheater. That is the function of superheater. Then economizer. So you can see the diagram first. Economizer, where economizer is placed. So economizer, okay, economizer is placed, and the one part of the economizer that is gone to boiler, and from the condenser that is coming to economizer. So economizer, what is the function of economizer? You can see the economizer and the economizer input is feed water. In the diagram you can see the input to the economizer is feed water. That means through the economizer, and the feed water here that is applied to economizer, that is what it is done here. So you can see in the economizer the feed water which is applied to boiler, that is first converted to a heat water. So here the economizer that is extract heat from the flue gases, and that gas that will help the feed water, that will increase the temperature of the feed water. The feed water which is applied to boiler, that will preheat through the economizer. So economizer is essentially a feed water heater, so that water will preheat before applying to the boiler. The water will preheat by this economizer. So how this water will preheat, and the heat that will come from the flue gases. So flue gases means the some part of the gas, the hot gas that will apply to the economizer, and that hot gas that is coming from the boiler. So in the economizer, the water that is preheated, so that preheated water again applied to boiler. Then coming to the next part, that is air preheater. So economizer done, then air preheater. So air preheater is a heat exchanger in which air temperature is raised by transferring heat from the other fluids such as flue gases. Air is drawn from the atmosphere by a forced draft fan. So here in air preheater, you can see in the diagram, air preheater, the air that is coming from the atmosphere, you can see air preheater, the air is coming from the atmosphere, and again that air that is heated. So for the coal combustion, as we need, for the coal combustion we require air. So air that will come from the atmosphere, then again that atmospheric air that is preheated. The air is preheated. So where it will be preheated, that is preheated in the air preheater. The atmosphere, from the atmosphere the air will come, and through the fan, forced fan, the air is applied to air preheater, and through the flue gases the air is preheated, and that preheated air again it is applying to the boiler. So that is the function of air preheater. You can see the function of the air preheater. So that is the air preheater, that is a heat exchanger in which air temperature is increased. Then coming to next, steam turbine, very important part, steam turbine. As I earlier said that turbine that is coupled to generator. So what is the function of turbine? The dry and superheated steam from the superheater is applied to turbine through main valve. The heat energy of the steam when passing over the blades of the turbine, it is converted into mechanical energy. So basically the steam turbine, it gives mechanical energy that will produced by this steam turbine. So how this mechanical energy will produce? When the steam is produced in the boiler, that steam is converted into superheated steam, that is dry steam. So after converting into dry steam, that dry steam is applied to turbine blade. So when the turbine will rotate, it will give mechanical energy, and that mechanical energy is applied to generator or the AC generator. So that there are two types of steam turbine. One is impulse turbine, second is reaction turbine. So coming to the next part, that is alternator or AC generator. So as we all know that generator is a device which converts mechanical energy into electrical energy. So here the alternator or the AC generator which is used in the thermal power plant, that is basically a AC generator. So alternator is a device that converts mechanical energy of the prime mover into electrical energy. So when the turbine rotates the alternator, the electrical energy is generated. This generated electrical voltage then stepped up with the help of transformer and then transmitted where it is to be utilized. So alternator is a AC generator which produces electrical energy, and the range of voltage that the production is, that is 11 kV. That 11 kV is stepped up to or increased up to 132 kV for the transmission process. So that is done by the transformer. So that these are the things that is happening in the alternator. Then coming to condenser, the meaning of condenser is the exhausted steam after applying across the turbine. The exhausted steam is condensed into condenser by means of cold water circulation. Here the steam loses its pressure as well as temperature and it is converted back into water. So the steam which is applied to turbine, so after it applying the exhausted steam, that is converted into water by the help of, so by using the water, the steam that can be converted into water. So that is a function of condenser. Then next last part, that is the advantage and disadvantages of thermal power plant. The advantages is economical for low initial cost and other than any generating plant. That is the economic, because it is initial cost is low. Second point is land requirement is less as compared to hydropower plant. Hydropower plant that requires a huge large size, but the thermal power plant that requires less size. Since the coal is main fuel, so its cost is quite cheap than petrol and diesel, so the generation cost is also economical, because the primary fuel here the coal, and so that's why the generation cost that is also economical. Next point, maintenance is also easier, and the thermal power plant can be installed in any location where the transportation and bulk of water are available. So if the river is there, then we can set up a thermal power plant that can be installed in any location. Then disadvantages. So the first point, the running cost of a thermal power plant that is comparatively high due to the fuel maintenance, etc. Then large amount of smoke that comes from the chimney, so that causes the air pollution. Then it also increases the temperature of the global warming. The heated water that comes from a thermal power plant has an adverse effect on the aquatic lives in the water and disturbs the ecology. That is another major disadvantages due to the heated water. Then last point, the overall efficiency of a thermal power plant is also low, and that is near about less than 30%. So this is the last part. Thank you.